Hey, what's up everyone? I'm bringing you guys today a new YouTube video. I know it's been a while, but I'm very excited about this one. I'm here to announce that we have a new coach on the Value Heavy coaching team. His name is Raphael from Italy. He plays a mix between 50 and 100 NL, and he's proven himself quite a bit so far in those streets. He also has a lot of experience working with microstakes players through study groups, where he worked together with tons of microstakes players, and now he's ready to take it to the next level, start coaching with Value Heavy. So I'm super excited about having him on the team. If you're interested in that, check out the Discord page, and we do have a bit of an early bird discount going on. So at the moment you can already book him for only 20 euros an hour, which is obviously super cheap. So I need to sell out a little bit. I need to announce that. So sorry guys, I just need to. Without further ado, here's the play and explain video coming right after this message. So enjoy that and have a good one, everyone. See ya. Bye bye.
Hello everyone, my name is Raphael and I'm a new coach for Value Heavy coaching. And for the first video I'm gonna do a play and explain of 5NL on rush&cash. Yeah, I'll try to explain my thought process and about the hands as much as I can. This is my first time, so I hope everything goes well. The audio and video works. Up here I have a RNG. And yeah, I will try to keep the game as simple as possible, explain as much as I can, and let's get started. I use a 2.5x from every position, but you could also go smaller, it doesn't matter too much. And then this is always going to be a 4-bet ace king suited. And on these boards I'm just going to simplify and check my range, given the chance to stab, and then mix some check calls and check raises. With aces particularly, I think check calling works a bit better. If I had a queens jack, so I would check raise a bit more aggressively. And here I'm just gonna c-bet very small sizing with my whole range. Now when he flats here, he could have 8s, 4s, but he can also have out of pocket pairs that bet small, especially when he goes for the small sizing. I'm not too concerned. And we'll just call again and just call 3 streets on basically all runouts. You keep betting small. We could also jam. This is both fine because it's a double flush draw board. But this way we put him in a tough spot with jacks, queens, and if he jams himself with a flush draw, if he has pocket tens now, so be it, good to him. And same hand, that's usually what happens. If you see people like this with a shorter stack, you probably know already that you can mark these as recreationals. Most of the time this is going to be the case. My 3-bet size from the big blind is going to be to 12 big blind, and then size down to 11 from the small blind. And here we face a lead, which probably just does, we can mix raises or calls. This hand kind of go for a raise here when I don't have a club, so I need a bit more protection. Usually you would see this with some medium strength hands, but you know, never really know. Sometimes it can also be a strong hand, but most of the time it's going to be a weak one. And here we can mix between call and 4-bet. For me, the low numbers are aggressive, so we'll go for 4-bet. Generally, I would advise to be a bit more careful when you face 3-bets from the big blind, as they tend to be a bit stronger than from the small blind, because people miss the 3-bets bluff from the big blind, especially at lower stakes. So call, interesting. Just going to continue with a small sizing, 25%. Obviously not having a diamond kind of sucks. But he's going to have like maybe some lower pocket pairs, some 8s, 9s, without a diamond. That in tough spot. And now, yes, we lose to some flushes, but we get it in versus sets and 2-pair. Yeah, we just call off here. He's gonna jam sets for value himself. This time a bluff. That's surprising, but happens too. If you want, you could play. Oh, you got there even once. You could play a calling range, but I would recommend to just 3-bet or fold, and then this hand is just also fold. If you want, you could have a calling range and sometimes call these pocket pairs. So unlucky here with the king queen, but at least we got it in good. Nothing we can do. Gonna probably play around half an hour, see how it goes. Maybe we can look at 1 or 2 spots after the session, if they're interesting ones. Now this hand, again, a spot where people probably don't have enough to bluff, so you could already start folding some weaker holdings, but the suited aces are just too strong and gonna continue. But you can fold weaker hands like Jack 8 suited or hands that are on the borderline. And here it's very close, but because I don't think he has enough 3-bet bluffs pre-flop, I'm gonna make a tight fold and just fold on a flop, but this could usually also as call or raise. But because he probably doesn't 3-bet, this board hits him very well, I'm just gonna fold. Getting some premium hands in this session. This one gonna be 3-betting around half the time. And on this board, that doesn't really hit one, and we have an overpair advantage here. We just continue for half pot. We also have the Queen of Hearts, which blocks some of his continues, and we have some nice turns that we can barrel. And probably bet again and then bluff hearts, otherwise give up. For something of 67% sizing, 60%, something around that. Really put his pocket pairs in the tough spot. The a7 here is also gonna 3-bet some frequency. We'll call this time. And here, if he checks, there's no real reason to bet with an ace high. If it ace 4 is deuce, we have a gut shot at least. This hand doesn't really have anything going for it, so we just check behind. And the king is definitely a better card for his range, so we'll just have to fold to a bet. Not much we can do. Six is going to be the poker pair that open at full frequency, and the other ones you could either mix, or you can just open fives and don't open the lower ones, depending on how you want to play. There's a shorter stack in the big blind, so I'm gonna open a bit wider and just open the deuces. Otherwise, randomize and open sometimes. And here we want to be wide in these splash pots, obviously, if there's so much money in the middle, but 5-2's offsuit is just too weak to do anything. This is a 3-bet, we're a bit deeper. So we can continue sometimes. We roll very high, which is passive for me, so I'm gonna make the fold this time. If there were 150 big blinds or deeper and he still goes for the same size, I would always call with the poker deuces. And then 10-9, you could technically 3-bet, but if you don't feel comfortable playing these hands in out of position in a bigger pot, you can just call in. Or if you think your opponent is calling a bit too wide, which definitely might be the case at the lower stakes. And here flats from the small one, so his range is going to be a bit stronger. But we can still see it very wide for small sizing. And here he 3-bets a bit smaller, so we just want to call more. This hand is going to call anyway, but if you had like ace 10 suited or king jack, you can call a bit more if you see that smaller sizing. This board doesn't really hit either range too well, so we don't open these pocket pairs that much and then also fold them sometimes. So he could technically size up, so we're just happy to see the small size and call. And then here I'm just gonna simplify and check my whole range out of position on a monotone board if I get called in from in position. This turn doesn't help us, it's kind of a brick, and he keeps betting small. Interesting sizing by him. He would just fold with no spade, and here I'm also gonna make a fold. It looks more like a hand like 10s, 9s, so maybe 3-bet a bit light and doesn't want to bet too big. Don't think he goes small with bluffs there. Theory-wise, multiple sizes work in this flop. I think for lower stakes, just going smaller, high frequency works the best, as you don't face enough raises and people might even fold a bit too much. Here you would definitely want to be tighter when you face a call here. Ace 10 we can still call, but if you had like a hand like ace 9 offsuit or jack 10 offsuit, you could already fold that hand if you see a flat call. Now this is a hand that could check raise multi-way, depending on sizing, goes for small sizing. So you can mix both raises and calls. Having the ace of hearts would definitely be better to raise here. Yeah, just folding now, not really trying to find a bluff him. He basically goes all in and just don't have a value hand, so we just fold, unfortunately. And this one is also gonna fold. Yes, 2 flush draws, but 10-9 completed. We block some of his 9x, like 9-7 bluffs, 10-7s that he could have. And we just have stronger hands that either draw to something, pair plus a draw, or just top pair. That makes a better call. Easy fold here. See if I can get some interesting spots. Nothing too interesting so far. King Queen is gonna mix some 3 bets. Okay, never mind. This board is one we cannot really bet range, but we can bet small often. But queens, kings, especially with no heart, is just gonna perform better as a check behind. And here also on this board, usually paired boards you can see bet really wide, but on here we don't have a backdoor flush draw, and here's more 3x, so we want to check a bit more and even check a hand like this one. And then fold here. If he picks a bigger sizing, we could already fold on the turn, but if he goes for small sizing, he might be betting worse for value. Now we just have an easy check behind. Win sometimes, lose sometimes to an ace. Yeah, there's a hand like this. Good that he only chose a small size on the turn. This is a board where you can see bet sometimes, but a second pair doesn't really want to see bet too often. Just generally play a bit more passive out of position when you get flight by in position. It's definitely a better turn for me, as he will never have ace king, and we do always. Then on the river we're gonna check again. Again, the smaller sizing from out of position 3-bets, but we cannot really do anything with ace 10 here. It's just a bit too weak. But we can continue if we like have pocket pairs that would usually fold at mixed frequency. We could call a bit more now. Checks behind. The 6-5 is gonna be a low frequency 3-bet versus early positions. Okay. Let's do it. Definitely some league that I see in other people that they often their 3-bet from the big blind is pretty low. Here we're gonna go for a cold 4-bet. And then if the first guy jams and the second guy jams, then we obviously fold. But if the first guy jams, we probably can fold. Now we see a call. Interesting spot. Board that doesn't really connect too well. Tim, he could have some pocket eights, but that's about it. So we can mix checks and bets. We go for check this time. The cat definitely see bet too. And then here we have something that we've seen quite a bit now, that people go smaller. Usually I would fold this hand, but to such a small 3-bet we can call. And here he goes half pot, kind of saying he has tens, jacks. We can just fold, you just protect your range here by checking some aces, or maybe check raise some queens and kings, and that's fine. If he goes smaller, we could do something, but not really rusticizing. And here we just call. Definitely have to be careful again, because people don't really 3-bet bluff that much from the big blind. But just getting good price pre-flop. Small sizing on a flop. We call the turn and then probably fold river. At this hand 3-bets around half the time, blindly blind. Now it's getting close, but if he jams now, it probably just give up. And now we just check behind. Our hand is not really strong enough to value bet again. Interesting to see c-bet here, where he should be checking quite a bit. Yeah, I mean his hand should probably bet again on the river value, but it's alright. Here we could call, we could raise. Probably better to raise if we have a heart. And now again, if we would have a heart, a bit of better draws on this board, maybe a flush draw, maybe a jack 10 we could raise, but I think we just fold. If you have a bit more information on your player and you know that the small sizing is always weak, you could go for a raise here. But without information, our hand is just a bit too weak. This high jack or higher paired boards, just a small sizing, performs really well. We also have the backdoor flush draw. Now in the turn, you can use this kind of rule on boards like this, that you want to give up with your hands that were backdoor flush draws on the flop and now didn't improve because they block his automatic folds. Let's say he has like king queen or ace queen type of hands that just wants to give up. And on the river, this also doesn't really improve our range. Probably has loads of pocket pairs that probably not, I'm not gonna fold, so we'll just check. Sometimes win against some missed flush draws, and here again water doesn't really hit him apart from 7, so we'll just go for a half pot strategy with most of our range. And yeah, we're not really trying to bluff catch. I mean, his sizing is a bit big for pocket pairs, so it doesn't make too much sense. I think he checked behind it jack, but we can bluff catch some 10s or 9s, not really have to bluff catch ace high there. I call this around half the time. Call this time. Definitely better board for him. I expect kind of a range bet. That's what we see here. And you can check raise here when we have the 4 of hearts. Definitely not all the time, but you might not know how to react with some pocket pairs that he just range bets, or ace queen high. Send this close. You could also call sometimes with a heart. You can also just fold. Now we just have an easy fold. This just works really well against tight regulars that don't really see bluff raises on this flop too much, and then maybe start folding some pocket 10s, pocket jacks without a heart, stuff like that. Yeah, both a small c-bet or check, kind of mix. And this is a better card for him. Completes his draws, connects with his 7-6, 8-6. So definitely would be a bit more careful. You can even check some jack X there. And again, 8s, if you have a flooding range, you could mix 8s in there. Otherwise, just 3-bet it. Play 3-bet only from the button. Now turn is close. Probably just gonna fold. Don't see too many hands floating the flop that now stab here as a bluff. The 8s completes quite a lot of draws. All gives him a pair that we lose to now. Now usually versus one opponent, you would want to call queen 10, queen jack, suited hands, but if you see someone flooding, you want to use all your pseudo broadways and just squeeze them almost pure, and then remove your kind of more polarized 3-bets like the suited aces or suited connectors, and put them in your calls. Here we're gonna go something around half pot. Again, just utilizing the fact that we have an overpair advantage here, and he doesn't connect too well with this board. Has to make some uncomfortable continues with overcards. 7-4 offsuit is a really trashy hand, but for half a big blind. And this guy probably not being too aggressive, I think we can see a flop. If I were on the button or another position, I would just fold, but for half a big blind winning potentially 13, the odds are just a bit too great. And now not doing anything fancy, just check folding. Also now, not good card from my range, doesn't really give me any equity, so just check folding. This hand already kind of won EV by seeing a flop for just half a big blind. And here low frequency 3-bet, but mainly just calling with the 5s. Usually pocket pairs don't really like pairs in general don't fold blindly blind, but such a good board and without a heart, just folding even versus small sizing. And yeah, again, boards that are 10 or jack high and lower, just gonna range check and then play a bit more aggressive with check raises. He goes for small sizing, which makes sense in his position. And then queen 10 is mainly just folding. And here we can go for 4-bet. In this position, people will usually find enough 3-bets to make this fine. If you're in like those tighter positions, this just becomes a fold. Or if you open from early position and get 3-bet. If you were to open to 2.5, I'd make it 12 big blind. Now just make it 10. And again, this low paired boards connects a bit better. There's a bit more connectivity than the other ones you've seen before. And then here we can just go for a small c-bet and give up on turns with a hand like this that doesn't really have anything going for it. And then here, same rule as we had previously. We block the backdoor flushes that continued. So we just give up hands like this. We're still sometimes ahead of, a king queen of clubs that he floats on the flop. Some king jack of clubs. King queen of spades, sorry. Whatever spades. And now we just fold. Just having the clubs in our hand doesn't really make us want to barrel as we block his automatic folds. So it would be better to even bet something like sorry, why can I not close this? Okay, never mind. even having hearts or diamonds here would be better to continue than clubs. Okay, let's see if we can get a couple more interesting hands. What we definitely cannot see with range, so this hand could go into check call or check raise. Now on the turn, we don't really want to bet our king and ace high hands. Especially on a turn like this where we have a bit more showdown value. Usually a quick check is kind of a sign of a hand that is not very strong. And some mixing calls and 3-bets here, blindy blind. Calling this time. And here we have to continue heavy diamond, gut shot to the straight, even though it's just a lower one. But then probably falling to additional aggression. Yeah, like here he should usually size down because the 9 definitely hits my range better than it hits his range, as he checks 9x on the flop, and I'm always gonna call them. So we can tell usually that he has a better hand or at least a better draw against both we don't really do well against, so we can just fold. And then 10-2 suited we can call, we can 3-bet. As a spot where you probably don't get punished by more 4-bets, or people maybe even overfolding a bit because they're used to the population being very tight from the big blinds. So you can pick up lots of, just 3 big blinds by 3-betting a bit more and use some of the polarized 3-bets and increase your red line, make some more money pre-flop. If you see that you are losing quite a lot from the blinds, this is, or especially from the big blind, this is a good way to increase it, in my opinion. Not really sure how these splash pots play at 5NL, but I would assume that people are mostly passive, so I'm just gonna limp in trying to see a cheap flop with a weakish hand like this one. Definitely gonna be balanced in this here. Maybe do it sometimes with aces, kings, but usually it's just gonna be a weak hand that wants to see a flop. And now I just fold. If he made it a bit smaller, or we had like 7-6 suited, 6-5 suited, we could call, but 6-4 is just gonna fold. If you want, you can also just open to 7, 8, 9 big blinds and don't really limp. But I think it usually works quite well in these splash pots, but don't quote me on that. No real reason to bet this hand here. Better board for him. Checking behind. Same on the turn. We're still ahead of quite of his range. Don't really get value. Don't need to bluff ace queen high. Could almost value bet the river just by the fact that he checked down so quickly. Kind of saying he has ace high. Gonna 3-bet here most of the time. And here gonna use small c-bet high frequency. And here, if he goes bigger to 10-11, this hand would mix sometimes into 4-bet. If he goes that small, we can just take the cheap price that we get and call and play in position. And here on the turn, both betting and checking is fine. We go for a check this time. He should size up to half pot here. So we're just happy that we see a cheaper price can continue with 2 overcards in the backdoor, not flush draw. He bets around half pot here. Pretty easy call for us. And on a turn, we didn't improve. Even though this card is good for a range, he now bets bigger. We'll just fold. Interesting river. He shouldn't really have that many queen X that bet big on the turn, other than ace queen. So I guess he's gonna check behind a lot. If he bets anyway, would get interesting. Okay. Unlucky. Guess that river saved us. This board, just going smaller range. Definitely the easiest way to play this. Snap check behind. I'd assume it's going to be a medium strength hand, like a queen, pocket jacks, pocket tens very often. Sometimes just a random give up. So we'll just check down with our hand. Sometimes win. But yeah, as I said, very often a hand like this that just doesn't want to bet. But definitely if you see this in game, take note of it. The next time you have 7-6 offsuit, you can just pressure him if he does something like this, and you have a note ace-8 offsuit gonna be the bottom of the opening range. The a6. And here we got counterfeited. Versus a random limb from under the gun. Who also just checks down 5 high. Alright. He would be 3-betting ace-4, ace-5, ace-7, ace-8, but ace-6 is just the worst suited aces, so just gonna fold. Here we face a cold 4-bet from someone who's a bit shorter stacked. Definitely not the greatest spot, but ace-king suited is strong enough to get it in here. If ace-king offsuit gets close in this position, you could even fold versus a full stack regular. Here was a bit shorter stack, and having ace-king suited, we just get it in. We fade the snap, which is usually a good sign, but who knows. I actually see a fold, interesting. I'd assume that usually when you see a cold 4-bet, it's strong on these stakes, especially in these positions, under the gun MP and then button 4-bet. Okay, let's play a few more minutes and then wrap up the session. You very easy continue with every pair. But sometimes even raise versus the button versus or versus the cutoff the hand like this to get some protection. As early position becomes a bit less of a thing. Oh. You open the queens and sorry for that bit. Just had to color out some mail opened that I accidentally clicked on. But yeah, we went for a block bet here with the pocket sixes on the river after turn when check check to get some fin value from ace high or hands like this one. Yes, he could have some sevens, eights, nine himself, but we also get paid with these hands. Him gonna bet the turn again, get called by flush draws, get called by 7x, 5x, pocket pairs that are most likely gonna call, and then I can just check back the river. And here we get called and play four-way. We're not gonna do anything other than checking it down. Most of the time just not gonna win, but we never know. Yeah, 10 is definitely one of the hands that check maybe twice, but when he bets big into 4 other people, not gonna try and bluff catch, just fold. And here, this is one of the scenarios where you play multi-way these offsuit ace-x hands. They just play really bad. I'd rather call something like 5-4 or 5-3 offsuit suited here than like a suited weaks offsuit ace. Queen 9 can open, queen 8 is a bit too weak. Let's see. Let's play. Let's play one more hand on each table. Don't get to. Okay. Last 2 hands here. Here having the gut shot, not having backdoor flush draw will make us mainly gonna make us call. If we had a heart, we could mix in some raises. And this turn, just gonna fold to any bet. Yep. Like his sizing, that he sizes down a bit when the flush completes and the overcard comes in. Makes sense to size down a bit. Okay, so this was it. I hope it all went well with the audio and sound and you can see everything. As this is my first play and explain. If you have any questions about any of the hands I played or just general stuff about me or anything, just drop a comment or text in the Discord. I'll try to answer as much as I can. Hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, see you around. Take care. Good luck at the tables.